Mr. President, many countries, developed and developing, have demonstrated their willingness to act at home. It is now time for all of us to bring our pledges here, to stand behind our actions, to internationalise our contributions, and to forge a comprehensive outcome that sets the world on the path to a low-carbon future. To meet the challenge of climate change, we must know what gains we are making through our collective efforts. Transparency is central. In these next 3 days, we must seal the deal. We must agree on action to 2012 and beyond. We must give effect to the full extent of what we agreed at Bali, our shared vision, mitigation, adaptation, finance and technology cooperation, and we must agree on how we translate our political agreement into enduring and ongoing commitments. Mr. President, as we confront the scale of the task before us, we should recall that we have come together to face this challenge before. The world has the Convention, the world has the Kyoto Protocol, and the world has the Bali Roadmap. Now the world needs to do more here in Copenhagen. We need agreement that is capable of delivering the environmental outcome all of us need. To make that happen, we will need to include the legally binding commitments of all major economies. Mr. President, the full range of countries is represented here in Copenhagen, here in this hall. We differ in our capacity to act, but we face a common threat and we share a common future. And let us look to this future as we work together in these days ahead. The Umbrella Group stands ready to play our full and fair part in reaching agreement here in Copenhagen with a legal outcome to follow in 2010. We wish to thank the Danish government for the great effort it has made in hosting this conference. Most of all, we welcome and applaud the efforts made by the Danish Prime Minister, Minister Hedegaard, and their team to lead us towards success here in Copenhagen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Penny Wong, speaking for the Umbrella Group. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we have two more very important speakers on our list before lunch. It is my honor to invite His Excellency Mr. Amadou Toumani Touré, the President of Mali, to take the floor, and he would followed shortly by His Excellency President Hugo Chavez of the Venezuelan Republic. Mr. President, the podium is yours.
Monsieur le Président, Excellences Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement,
State and the delegations, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Almost 15 years after the summit on human and social development held in this very city, here we are once again in Copenhagen to discuss climate change and the tragic consequences of climate change. I'd like to join Mali and all those speakers who congratulated the authorities of Denmark and the organizers of this summit. I'd like to talk to you about the negative impact of climate change in my country, Mali. Mali is a country that is part of the Sudan-Sahel-Saharan and Sahel-Syrian region, which occupies more than 2/3 of the surface of Mali, of 1,240,000 square kilometers. But our tragedy is the advancement of the desert. That is the dominating feature of climate evolution with its consequences. What are these consequences, ladies and gentlemen? First of all, is the villages and dwellings that disappear under the sand, the drying up of wells and water points, and the progressive loss of croplands. It is also the sand engulfing our lakes and approach roads. It is also large-scale deforestation to create new fields that already have been invaded by sand, which leads us to deforestation to satisfy our energy needs. In Mali, just like in other countries of the Sahel, drought is endemic. Sometimes, some years we have some rain, but most of the time we suffer from insufficient rainfall on a regular basis, and very often this rainfall is unequal in different areas. This also leads to floods, destruction of the habitat, and loss of crops. In Mali, just like in other areas of the Sahel, food insecurity is a permanent threat. Our efforts, despite all of our efforts, the courage of our farmers sometimes go unrewarded in order to cover our needs in agricultural products. So the first priority, amongst other priorities for our governments, is to decide how can our populations have access to agricultural products to cover our shortage in food products. And for that, very often we have to go to the global market, where prices are becoming more and more manipulated. And we still remember very well the skyrocketing price rises of 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, not even a book, let alone a speech, would be insufficient to tell you about the trials that climate change is bringing to the population of the Sahel. I'd like to tell you a story of 50 years that I share with one river. And I'm talking about the Niger River, and I was born on the banks of this river, and we lived together with this river for 50 years. The Niger River is one of the most important watercourses in Africa, 4,200 kilometers long, that go from Guinea to Nigeria, of which 1,780 kilometers are in Mali. I was born here in the center, in the central delta, on the banks of this river. And this is the point where two rivers meet, Niger and the Bani. I was 5 years old when I heard my grandma warn me against any swimming in this part of the river, the deepest part of the river, the most turbulent one, to scare us. The grandmothers told us that at this very spot of the river is where a water city, a water spirit is located. There are so many tragedies since then that people were afraid to approach the river because the river was so deep and so turbulent. 50 years later, during one of my visits to this area, and I went to this area to take a look, which was the place where this city of water spirits was supposed to be. And what did I see? I saw 10-year-old children play a football match on a sandbank right in the middle of the river. So where is the city of water spirits? Where is this city of water spirits? Where did all the water go? Climate change does not simply take away our croplands, our pastures, takes away our rivers and lakes. Climate change